Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here with the Owen Hart Blu-ray. This one, of course, is called the Heart of Gold. This is a 2-disc set that comes out talking all about the life and death and the highlights and the career of Owen Hart. He was, really, when it comes down to it, when you say like the People's Champion, of course, you're going to think of Diamond Dallas Page. You're going to think of The Rock. Owen Hart really was like a wrestler, like, just like for the fans. I mean, this guy was good. I mean, definitely, he was one of those guys that when you were watching wrestling back in the day, you could tell that this guy was better than he was portraying on the screen. And, as you grow up and you become more of a wrestling fan and you try to learn the other side of the business and you try to get all the inside stories, Owen Hart really is one of the most talked about wrestlers in the back. This guy, just came off like a real man's man. He got in there, he did the work. He was a really good wrestler. He's one of the most respected wrestlers. He didn't do a lot of things dirty behind a lot of people's backs. He did pull a lot of ribs, and that is one of the things that he's really famous for, and everybody's got tons of stories about it. And I'm sure that's going to be one of the big chapters of this documentary, is everybody telling Owen stories about things that he did. Whether if it was, messing with people's bags or messing with people, prank calling them on the phone, and, all sorts of different things. I've heard millions of different stories of things that Owen Hart did to try to survive life on the road, which is a lot of the hard things for a wrestler. It's right up there on the top. If you think about why Brock Lesnar quit wrestling in 2003, I guess, it would be because he just didn't like living on the road. He liked being at home. And he thought he could go do a better life somewhere else. Owen knew that he had to be out there on the road, and he tried to make it a fun place to work. And that, was playing pranks on each other, sort of like Owen and Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. They were like sort of like the leaders of the pranks in the locker room. So we're gonna take a look at this one. I'm really excited to get it. I'll just flat out tell you the truth. It's not the best cover of all time, but it is what it is. I'm glad that we got it. There's some things have been said about this documentary and DVD Blu-ray set, basically saying that it wasn't going to be that good. It's not as good as it should have been, but as a fan, honestly, I can say that I'm glad I have it. Here's the disc one, a lot of candid shots of Owen Hart. There he is winning the King of the Ring. Can't tell what's going on in that one. That's just a picture of him with the Canadian flag. Lots of pictures of him on the back, but see what's going on with this bad boy and see what's going on. There's the listing of the documentary. Check that out. And then we get into a lot of things going down. Stampede Wrestling, Owen Hart versus the Viet Cong. Dang, it's right there in that dang thing where you can't really read it because of the bend. But you got some more Stampede Wrestling with Owen Hart. The Blue Blazer on Wrestling Challenge. Blue Blazer wrestling at the Meadowlands. Then we got Wrestling Spotlight on Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship. Then we got Owen Hart versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. Owen versus Razor winning the King of the Ring. This is a Portland house show, a lumberjack match. Owen versus Bret. This is the match. This is the match. This is the match that's on that Coliseum home video. When Owen beats Bret to become the WWF champion and all the heels come out. That is awesome. That made my day. That's worth the price of the Blu-ray alone. If you get this and you haven't watched the matches yet, watch that one right now. You'll love it. Owen Hart versus, I can't tell who the heck that is. Nick somebody. Wrestling. Now it won't focus. Nick the Barbarian? What? I don't know. Exhibition match. I guess that's kind of weird that they would put a jobber match on there. Something has to happen during that, you would think. And then we have Owen Hart and Yokozuna going up against the Allied Powers. That would be Lex Luger and the British Bulldog. Owen Hart and Shawn Michaels in your house. This is a WWF Championship match. Owen versus Mankind on Raw. Owen versus the British Bulldog for the European Championship. Owen versus Rocky Maivia for the Intercontinental Championship. Then we got the Hart Foundation. Oh, this is Canadian Stampede. I honestly want to watch that whole show. I've never watched the whole show, and I've heard it's one of the best WWF pay-per-views of all time. Definitely one of the best in your houses of all time. So There's that match. That's going to be really good. Very, very awesome atmosphere for that one with the, I guess it's in Canada, so that means that they would be behind the Hart Foundation, but fans are really, really into that match, and it's almost like they're right on top of the ring because you hear everything they say. Owen versus Goldust for the European Championship. Owen versus Shamrock, the dungeon match. Oh God, that you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. I've heard definite good and bad about that one. And then we have Breakdown, 1998, Owen versus Edge. Blu-ray exclusives. The close are going to be the Blue Blazer versus the Red Rooster. Owen Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid. The Raw tribute of May 1999. Of course, Return of the Blue Blazer. Yeah, there it is, right down there at the very bottom. This is the second to last thing, May 23rd, 1999. So they talk about his death, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more in depth than the the WWE 50 DVD that came out. But I almost want to say that with the coloring, the back looks better than the front does. But we got Owen Hart of Gold. This here says the youngest of 12 from the famous Hart family, and one of the most lovable personalities in all of sports entertainment, Owen Hart. There's the matches that they put over the best, but this is going to be a good one. This is definitely going to be a sad one, a lot like the Macho Man Randy Savage. Spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. But he was one of the best, and he was one of the good ones. I know that there's going to be people out there who say that WWE is taking advantage of the Owen Hart tragedy that happened in 1999. And if it wasn't for his death in the ring, they probably wouldn't have put out a DVD documentary on him, because a lot of the guys that were in his spot, they don't get DVD sets. It's true, but I mean, it's one of the ones that's been asked about for years. It wasn't like they just pulled this out of their pocket and said they were going to make this. Definitely fans love Owen. People haven't stopped talking about him since he died, and he deserves it. So there he is, the Heart of Gold, the King of Hearts, Owen Hart. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. I just finished watching the Owen Hart Heart of Gold documentary that just came out today. Everybody knows that I love WWE DVDs. I love having a great DVD collection. I like buying the documentaries when they first come out with the WWE Network. The sort of match collection DVD sets that come out, I've normally sort of scaled back on those. I don't pick them up as fast as I used to. But if it's got a documentary on there, I look at it as it's a must-have, and I want to have it. I want to be one of the first to watch it. I want to get everybody's thoughts on it, but I honestly don't want to know your thoughts until I know what my thoughts are on it, if that makes any sense. The Owen Hart documentary was good. I think you can tell by me saying good that it wasn't great. It was, it's sometimes you watch a WWE documentary and you're like, top 10, guaranteed, right there. I don't have a full list of them, but I put this in the top 10. This was great. The Owen Hart documentary was the only emotion that I have right now is, honestly, I'm sad. That's about the only way that I can put it. There were parts in there that was good. I can honestly say that I learned something. I learned a lot about Owen. I didn't know that when Owen Hart wrestled as the Blue Blazer that he actually quit the company and he went to go wrestle in Mexico and in Europe. And, he toured around. He didn't just... I honestly thought he was a lifer in WWF. I thought, honestly, he just got to a point with the Blue Blazer where they sent him home. And then they brought him back as a part of the new foundation with Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And I thought they just picked up where they left off. I mean, I can remember them bringing in Owen and calling him Bret's brother. And, him getting the tag team push that he got. But I didn't know that he wrestled out there, and I didn't know that he wrestled for WCW. Basically, Tyson Kidd talks about the fact that when he was growing up, Natalia had a tape of Owen wrestling in WCW, and it was like a hidden tape that, you can tell that he's wrestling. in WCW. It's probably the Saturday night, world-class championship wrestling show. Or not world-class, I apologize, but World Championship Wrestling, 6:05 Saturday night. Basically, it had that set, and I didn't know about that. And they talk about the fact, Owen comes back. I honestly can tell you about the Blue Blazer. I didn't know there was as many highlights of the Blue Blazer as there was. I didn't know about Owen's style of wrestling when he was the Blue Blazer. They talked about his famous move where he would go into, an arm lock and then jump up on the top rope, balance, and then back flip off to clothesline his opponent in the ring. I'd never seen that before. Basically, my highlights of the Blue Blazer is the WrestleMania 5 match against Mr. Perfect. That's almost exclusively what I remember of the Blue Blazer as I was a kid. And they have these great, house show matches, him wrestling Mr. Perfect, him wrestling against some job guys. You see the, sort of the evolution of the Blue Blazer, however long he was this character. He had at least 4 different masks, so he had to have been wrestling as the Blue Blazer for longer than I honestly can remember. But, he comes back, and he's the tag team guy, and he's in the new foundation, and it looks like it's going to be going somewhere, and then Jim the Anvil Neidhart, they says that he makes a mistake, and he screwed up, and they had to fire him. He leaves the company, and then from there, he starts tag teaming with High Energy, Coco Beware, and that really doesn't really seem like it's going anywhere. Lots of funny talk about the fact of, Owen Hart wrestling in hammer pants with the suspenders, and where the hell was this going, and it is what it is, and he's done again, and from there, it's actually, Bret Hart who has to go to Vince McMahon and say, when are you going to do something with Owen? Owen's better than this. And Bret, sort of twists the arm of Vince McMahon. Vince is, planning this brother versus brother match where it's going to be Bret against Bruce. And, Bret basically says that, Bruce isn't going to be able to go out there and give the best matches, and the best matches will actually come if it's Owen versus Bret. And Bret says the only way I'm doing the storyline if it's with Owen. And Vince and everybody basically say, all right, then that's what we're gonna do. And they start to light the fire under Owen, and we see the match that you build up to it where they're teaming at the I apologize, I was just screwing this up, but they're teaming at Survivor Series where it's the Hart family all together, and you see Owen go running into the ropes. He bumps Bret, and because Bret goes flying, everybody's paying attention to Bret on the outside. Owen gets rolled up, and Owen ends up being the only member of the foundation that gets pinned and eliminated. And he comes back, and he's mad at Bret. Bret was out of position. He shouldn't have been walking the ropes. He wasn't in the right spot. You can honestly side with Owen on this one a little bit. But Bret is, at that time, the man. So it is what it is. And, from there, they team up at the Royal Rumble in a good match against the Steiner brothers. They're not able to get the win. Owen kicks Bret's leg out, and next thing you know, they finally have their match at WrestleMania 10. And this is the eye-opening moment for Owen Hart's career of showing everyone how good this guy is. And from there, they go to SummerSlam. They have the steel cage match, and everything that is there. Lots of good stuff along the way. I don't want to give up, too much of everything that went down. I'll tell you that honestly, after the Bret Hart versus Owen Hart angle, they talk about Yokozuna for a minute, and honestly, that next period before he turns to the Blue Blazer, and when they get to that point, you can already see the ending is coming soon, and it starts to take a drastic turn, and it starts to get pretty sad because it's coming, and there's no way to get away from it besides hitting eject and not finishing the documentary. But sometimes you got to put yourself through it, and you know that the sad stuff's coming, and you got to see what's coming, and that's just about it. But honestly, there's no way to get around this. They talk about the fact of how the screw job went down. They don't talk about, all the specifics of it, but basically they talk about the fact that Owen came to work the next day and he basically said, what happened had to happen. They say he sided with Vince and WWF. That's not the way that I've heard the story. That's not the way that the story's been told. As somebody who's been a Wrestling Observer subscriber, that's not the way I've heard Dave Meltzer tell the story. That's not the way I've read about the story. That's not the way I've heard about shoot interviews of wrestlers talking about what was going on. I'm not in the business. I don't know Owen. I don't know Bret. I don't know Triple H. But the way that they told the story of Owen just showing up to work the next day and saying, "All right, boss, let's go do this," that's not the way I've been told. I've always heard that Owen went home. Owen tried to get out of the company. Vince, needed a Canadian star, and he'd already lost Bret, and he needed to keep Owen, and he made Owen all the promises under the sun. He promised him that he was going to pay him more money. He promised that he was going to put him in the main events. And, you definitely tell that was the plan once Owen finally came back to work. But a certain Shawn Michaels put the kibosh on everything. And, Triple H was honestly a part of that as well. They basically made sure that Owen wasn't going to reach the main event status for one reason or another, whether if it was just to stick another knife into the back of Bret, even though he was working for the opposition, working for WCW at the time. But I honestly, that's just I'm yelling bullshit at the television, and that's just not the way I remember it. But I'm very excited to watch the matches, as well as the Blu-ray bonus features of watching. I don't think it's the complete version of Monday Night Raw. That might be on that Raw 20th anniversary set, the DVD that came out a little bit ago, but I'm not 100% sure. One way or another, I know I have it on DVD. It might just be the wrestlers talking about Owen and not putting the actual matches on there, but lots of good things about Owen. Lots of good things of wrestlers talking about all the stories that you hear about him, playing pranks on everybody. Definitely a good one. More than likely, they'll do a sale either for Christmas or right around New Year's, where WWE Shop will basically be giving this away on DVD or Blu-ray. Pick it up on a sale. You don't need to pick this up right now. It's not one of the best DVDs they've ever made. It's a good one. It's sad. Sad. Might even be, I put it right there with the Ultimate Warrior and the Macho Man. We all know how this one was going to end. But, it's still sad the way they tell the story. So, we'll see what you guys think about it. Owen Hart, Heart of Gold. It's a part of the heart and soul of the Hart family right here. I put this together as a little shrine for him. You can see Brian Pillman. You can see Bret the Hitman Hart, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And now here, as a part of the WWE DVD collection, Owen Hart, Heart of Gold, 2-disc Blu-ray set.